twists and character transformations on your favorite SF and fantasy TV shows.
Do you have a better idea? We are bored.
The father of cyberpunk, William Gibson. The horrors of the Hollywood Wax Museum. And the classy actor behind those nasty fangs on Forever Night, Geraint Wyn Davies.
Why not? Prepare.
Stand by.
The Buzz.
Movies. Personalities.
Sci-fi.
FX.
Behind the scenes.
Cutting edge. Get ready.
Sci-fi.
Buzz. Mike Jarek here with The Buzz from the kingdoms of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. The staff has been very hard at work for you on this first feature. That's because, yes, it's fall when the network reruns end and the good stuff starts. In the coming weeks, we'll get fresh episodes of our favorite sci-fi shows. And this season is looking particularly interesting.
What's your designation?
7 of 9, tertiary adjunctive Unimatrix 01. But you may call me 7 of 9.
The addition of a Borg babe should help shore up the ratings of Star Trek Voyager. Actress Jeri Ryan, who starred in the NBC series Dark Skies last year, plays the character known as 7 of 9.
We are under attack.
Look for the new Borg to play an important role in the series. Also, the telepathic Kess character has abandoned ship with no plans to return. On Deep Space Nine, watch for the war between the Federation and the Dominion to continue. Meanwhile, love is in the air as Worf and Dax tie the knot. The biggest change for Babylon 5 will be where to find it. The TNT cable network has picked up the show and will begin airing new episodes in January. This is reputed to be the final season for Babylon, so expect some explosive plot developments next year as they wrap things up.
Maybe we should have dropped this case when you were told.
When the X-Files returns, fans will learn what happens to Scully's inoperable cancer. The Files will also explore the origins of the lone gunman, as well as whether Mulder and the cigarette-smoking man are related. However, as usual, these storylines won't resolve during the season. Next summer, the X-Files movie will pick up where the TV show leaves off.
Look at this, would you? What an appetite.
Hercules, a father? That's just one of the possibilities during the 4th season of Hercules, The Legendary Journeys.
Mothers know best.
And keep your eyes open for the season premiere the week of September 29th. The series will offer its own unique spin on the classic Jack and the Beanstalk fable. In the 3rd year of Xena, Warrior Princess, Xena will brush up against such historical figures as Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. And our sources say Xena's friendship with Gabrielle will be tested on an especially powerful episode. Here we are! On the season premiere of Highlander, Duncan MacLeod will be chasing down the demon that caused him to commit murder in last season's finale. And there'll be more immortals throughout the year.
So is there danger at the Bronze? Should I beware?
And finally, last season's surprise hit, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, returns on the WB.
Let's dance.
After killing her arch-nemesis, the Master, last season, Buffy will be challenged by a couple of punk vampires named Spike and Drusilla. Unfortunately, Fox's Roar, a grand summer fantasy series, won't continue this fall, but might return later in the year. And there are a host of new sci-fi and fantasy series premiering later in the month, and The Buzz will preview those in 2 weeks. Nice job in the fall preview, Kurt.
Thank you, sir.
He produced that segment. But some of my favorite shows, The X-Files, Pretender, Profiler, Sleepwalkers, why are they starting in November? I want to see them now.
NBC has the World Series this year. So later.
I mean, the X-Files are on Fox. That is
well, that's a different situation. There, you see, we've got the X-Files movie that they shot this past summer, so they're a little bit behind schedule.
Well, don't you just know it all?
I try.
That's why he's here. Next, buzzing with Geraint Wyn Davies of Forever Knight and the phenomenally stiff cast of the Hollywood Wax Museum. You can help us produce Sci-Fi Buzz by contacting us with your recommendations as far as media and science fiction, fantasy, and horror. In fact, you're seeing a shift change here on the Buzz board. How was it? It's rough in there tonight.
You cannot be in love. You have not one shred of humanity left in you.
Forever Knight's bloodthirsty cop, Nick Knight, is the coolest 800-year-old vampire to hit the airwaves in a long time. We had the privilege to chat with Geraint Wyn Davies, the charming Welsh-born actor who portrays Nick. And he was eager to tell us why the show is reshaping audience conceptions of age-old vampire lore.
I think what we have is we've got so much sort of positive energy going into the show. It doesn't matter if we actually read every novel ever written on a vampire. It is the sort of joie de vivre that we bring to the show. Much better than having a bunch of dour, serious individuals talking about every nuance that a vampire would bring to the... first of all, I couldn't do the show. I'd have to hide underneath a rock until everybody passed over or something.
Wyn Davies' character is a modern vampire who bears more resemblance to the angst-ridden night dwellers in an Anne Rice novel than the creepy Count of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I do not love this woman, and prove it to me. Bring her over.
The time and budget constraints of weekly TV has meant Nick's transformation to vampire must be kept simple. There's no laborious hair and makeup job, no widow's peak or facial prosthetics, just some suitably sharp fangs and a $5,000 pair of contact lenses.
Those lenses are amazing because they cover your whole eye, they suck the oxygen out of your eye, you can't see anything, so any action is quite hysterical. Before someone yells cut, I could walk into a door or trip over a table. I've run into the camera before. Ow!
Another pain in the neck of shooting Forever Knight is that everything happens at night.
It's the night shoot. It's the 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon till 5 or 6 in the morning thing. It's ugly. You can never get back on track. However, it does make the doing of a vampire show somehow more real. I mean, we're all out there. Normal people who have started the show at the beginning of the week, at the end of a week, suddenly become really, really baggy. And they say, why aren't you looking good on this episode? Because I haven't slept.
Nick Knight is an immortal, desperately seeking mortality by atoning for his past sins. That's pretty solemn stuff when stacked up against the cute sitcoms that dominate TV. But Wyn Davies says the atmosphere on the set is anything but serious.
We giggle a lot. I mean, you come at someone full vamp and you say something, which my favorite line that I always say is, you cling to your paganism like lichen to a stone. Well, occasionally, yeah, even the best, even the most concentrated individual is going to see those little teeth wiggle, those little contacts in your eyes with that line coming out and spew. And so we often are resetting up shots due to the inability of an actor to say it with a straight face.
Even though production on Forever Knight wrapped over a year ago, the handsome actor is always ready to pull out the teeth again and sink them into the juicy role of Nick Knight.
The time that I'd really stop doing this is if I had to go open a mall wearing a cape and the teeth and things. I think I'd have to just basically rethink this career plan or path that I have.
My name is Christmas Tara. I run the official Highlander fan club for the films and TV series. We have an official fan club that we'd like to tell you about. It's $18 a year in the U.S. to join, and you get a membership card.
In the heart of Hollywood, some of the most evil and sinister and beloved characters of the silver screen are immortalized right here at the Hollywood Wax Museum's Chamber of Horrors. Shall we? A Hollywood institution since 1964, the Wax Museum has close to 200 figures on display. We had the odd pleasure of talking with the guys who cook up this stuff. Curator Kenneth Horn and assistant curator Steve Kirk. What are you guys doing to that woman?
Hi.
How you doing?
Pretty good. My name's Ken.
Oh, you have wax hands. Okay. Linda Blair, right?
Yep, from The Exorcist.
Ooh, what's the vomit made out of?
It's actually made out of green oil paint mixed in with a little
sawdust.
Sawdust.
Now, which one of you guys made this woman, so to speak?
Well, we both worked on it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we both made it.
What's Linda made out of?
She's made out of wax, and the body's made out of fiberglass. We pre-fiberglass the body, so it stays up and doesn't melt on us. The hands and the head's made out of complete wax.
Can I touch her hands?
Mm-hmm.
Ah! Oh. Well, it doesn't feel like wax. I guess it's just really hard wax.
Yeah, it's hard wax, and then there's a coat of oil paint on top of it.
Oh, yeah. Hair, is it?
No, we use basically synthetic wigs, and then when we need to do wig blending, we have a little device over here, and this is what we use. And we'll take a ponytail hair, the synthetic ponytail, our human hair, and then we take crepe wool, which comes like this.
Yeah.
And then we'll blend the hair through this. We'll just keep on doing this until we get kind of a blackish gray hair. We can get any color of the actor we want by just blending the hair. Then we'll cut the hair like this, and then what we do is we put it this way, and then we glue it right to the wax figure.
Do you guys feel like Frankenstein sometimes, or
Working on this kind of stuff, yeah.
is this fun?
Yeah, it's occasionally gets boring because you start talking to the wax figures, they don't talk back. So you kind of get lonely. You're working away.
So would you say this wax museum is the most comprehensive museum of its kind?
It's the one I know that has the biggest horror chamber.
We really set an atmosphere. The way the horror chamber is set up, we have different areas set up. When you first step in, you're out in a graveyard with trees and things like that. You enter a mausoleum. You go into the horror chamber itself with the rack and all that. Down into the sewers for the Phantom of the Opera, and then around to the haunted house where Elvira is.
And now for the scariest, creepiest, most horrible monster in the whole entire Hollywood Wax Museum. Here it is. Whoa, dude, that was scary.
We try to set different little motifs. We got sound effects that are in there, music playing and things like that to really give you your money's worth, give you a little show.
Steve, thank you very much.
It was a real pleasure.
Letting me come in. Boy, this is fascinating.
Nice meeting
Keep up the good work.
All right.
All three of you.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see you later.
See you. Hey.
Oh.
You?
Farrah Fawcett.
Coming up, author William Gibson on the future of civilization as we know it.
If we could have a dialogue with people prior to, say, 1910, they would not think that we're particularly human.
And our Buzz Best Bets. Do not terminate this transmission.
2, 1, 0, liftoff.
An actress and author blast into space on this week's Buzz News.
All the sci-fi things are fun. For me, it's fun when you're playing an extreme character.
Tracy Scoggins, best known to sci-fi fans for her performances in TV's Lois and Clark and Highlander the series, is joining the cast of Babylon 5. Scoggins will help fill the gap in B5's command structure left by Claudia Christian's departure. Scoggins will play a human of questionable allegiance on the long-running space series. The 5th season of B5 premieres on the TNT cable network in January.
I think the biggest surprise is how difficult it is to get the public to understand the benefits that science and space are giving them.
Noted sci-fi scribe Ben Bova is getting into television. The rights to Bova's popular novel Mars has been acquired by the producers of Mortal Kombat for a potential TV series. True to the novel, the producers intend to turn Mars into a series about the near future of interplanetary travel. And that's the latest buzz. William Gibson burst onto the sci-fi scene in a big way in 1984 with his debut novel, Neuromancer. The book won both the Hugo and Nebula Awards and earned Gibson a legion of devoted fans.
Here's where it started. And this took the science fiction world from unicorns to hard science and the real future, and he was writing about it, and it followed.
Since first coining the term cyberspace, Gibson has written a string of bestsellers and experienced box office disappointment with Johnny Mnemonic. We caught up with Gibson at a book signing in Hollywood to get his take on the future of humanity and Tinseltown.
I feel as though we're living way down in some unprecedented fault line of history. And huge changes are taking place right now. Things are being decided, but they're so vast that we have no way of knowing what they're going to be.
Gibson's latest book, Edoru, just out in paperback, examines humankind's ever-growing fascination with celebrity. The word Edoru is the Japanese word for a pop culture idol.
As near as I can make out, the current usage is to describe a particular kind of cookie-cutter, mass assembly line starlet who's sort of punched out on the Japanese equivalent of Tin Pan Alley.
Gibson was inspired to write Edoru after reading about a famous Japanese singer who didn't really exist.
She became very, very popular because possibly the audience found out that she didn't exist. And it was sexy or intriguing. And I just found that very funny and kind of resonant of what we all do with celebrity.
Gibson's words now take on an added resonance after the tragic and much publicized death of Princess Diana. In the future world of Gibson's Edoru, the media has taken on a particularly sinister role. In fact, one of the novel's main villains is a cable TV producer.
She works for a whole cable network that's devoted to each week they destroy another celebrity. And they know exactly what they're doing, so while they're destroying them, they're growing them. It's kind of like a lumber company raising a forest.
Which is best visualized as a vicious, lazy, profoundly ignorant, perpetually hungry organism craving the warm God flesh of the anointed.
Maybe we were better as quadrupeds. Either we're the crown of creation and we're doing all this to some spiritual end, or maybe whenever what we think of as intelligence occurs in a given biosphere, that biosphere is doomed from the moment that intelligence occurs. We have no way of knowing. It currently looks as though it could go either way for us.
But which way does Gibson think the human race is headed?
I think we're about to enter an era that will be post-geographical, post-intellectual, post-literate, and post-human. I think our great-grandchildren will look back at us and marvel, and they won't consider us to have been human. They'll see us as a kind of precursor species. It's sort of in the way we see people in the 15th century, like medieval people. We think, wow, they were interesting. Look at those cavemen go.
My name is Bradford Anderson. I live in Brinkley, Arkansas, and I have just finished reading an excellent Star Trek The Next Generation novel by Michael Jan Friedman called Kahless. The story is about the truth behind the legend of Kahless. When a scroll is found, supposedly written by Kahless himself, which throws his legend into doubt and threatens to tear the Klingon Empire apart. The novel tells two stories, one about the original Kahless and the story of his clone. The book is wonderfully written and is a must-read for the fans of the Klingons.
We've got fun and fantasy on this week's Buzz Best Bets. Since it arrived on the scene 4 years ago, Magic: The Gathering has attracted fans from around the world. The strategic card game, set in a fantastical world, currently has 2 billion cards in circulation, and it's available in 9 different languages. For intimidated non-players who are tired of hearing friends rave about the game with the colorful cards, there's now an easy way to join the gathering. Wizards of the Coast, the company behind Magic, has come up with a simplified starter version called Portal. A play guide in the Portal starter set leads novices through a sample game. Then, using cards to cast spells and summon creatures, 2 players duel each other for control of the mythical land of Dominia. 2 35-card starter decks of Magic: The Gathering's Portal retails for $8.95 and can be found in game and hobby stores everywhere. In a more serious vein, though no less fantastic, St. Martin's Press has just published the Encyclopedia of Fantasy. This follow-up to John Clute's award-winning Encyclopedia of Science Fiction provides a vital reference source for those eager to learn more about their favorite authors, films, and other fantasy-related subjects. And those are this week's Sci-Fi Buzz Best Bets. Hey, Buzz, there's a couple of good articles I want you to read. In this month's Wired, there's a fascinating story about the making of Riven, which is the sequel to Myst, of course, and that's going to be out next month. Then in October's Wizard, you know, the comic guide, there's a story about superpowers, but not like superheroes, they're super animals. That's your assigned reading. Now, for next week's Buzz, make sure you watch this because we'll have an interview with Jerry Ryan, the new Borg babe on Star Trek Voyager. See you next week.
Lucas discovers love is a lure to danger when he falls into the clutches of a deadly kidnapping conspiracy, a conspiracy which could lead to the destruction of the world's most powerful submarine. Roy Scheider stars in Sequest DSV, Sci-Fi Channel next.